Hi guys, welcome to my channel and today we'll start a new chapter of forensic medicine and this is the agricultural poison. This is not only an important chapter for your exam purpose, this is one of the most important topics of your entire medical life because as a doctor, all the poisoning cases that you will come across or likely to come across in your practice in life, agricultural poison will certainly will be on the top of the list. As these are widely available chemicals, they are most commonly used for the suicidal or accidental poisonings. However, in India, and they are more widely used in the rural sector, they are widely available in the urban areas also. You can buy them from any hardware store everywhere. By this picture. This is a picture that is burnt into our memory in the recent past. We have come across lots of unfortunate events in the year 2020. There's COVID pandemic, Amphan cyclone, then a small earthquakes here and there, some terrorist attacks, India-China war, and then on as an icing on the cake, we have a locust swarm. These are insects which undergo genetic mutation under some favorable conditions and they fly together in millions in numbers for thousands of kilometers. As they fly non-stop, they are always hungry and they devour everything, every plant and vegetable they come across. So this is a biblical event because it is written in the Bible as a harbinger of apocalypse. As in time and again, locust swarms is associated with famine and scarcity of the food in the history of mankind. However, nothing of that sort happened in India. Everyone was anxious that this will lead to a food scarcity, but that didn't happen. Why? Because these pesticides. These pesticides they were sprayed into the field onto the locust by drones, planes, and persons. So the locusts died or they flew away from India and nothing bad happened. So these may be very good tomatoes. They are good things. But that is not so. This is the shinier part. Due to pesticide poisoning from 4 years 2014 to 2018. In these 4 years, total 272 farmers died in the state of Maharashtra alone. Classified into four categories by WHO according to their toxicity. Class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Five classes. 5 is non-toxic. Now the class 1 pesticides of the entire pesticides consumed in the year 2015 to 16, one third belongs to the class 1. In the year 2014, 7,300 cases of accidental poisoning was there due to pesticide, of which 5,900 died. In 2015, the figures are more dire, 7,600, of which 7,000 were fatalities. These are the class 1 pesticides. In the black circle are the number of countries in which they are banned, including European Union. So monoprotophos is banned in 60 countries, but it was 371 tons of it were used in the year 2015 to 16 in India. Methyl parathion, it is banned in 59 countries, but 674 tons of it were used in India. So this is the scenario. This is the doomier picture. So indeed, the farmers who are using this class 1 pesticides are actually they are characters of the Walking Dead series. They are dead men who are walking. They don't know that due to the very chemical which they are spraying, to prevent that their crop, the fruit of the sweat and blood, so that it is safe and they can earn a livelihood and they can live a good life. They are inching every day towards their untimely death. Pests are any insect or rodent, fungus, nematode, mite, teeth, mollusk, or unwanted weed which can harm the agricultural crop. So any chemical that kill any type of pest is a pesticide. So they're classified into these categories according to the targets. Insecticides for insects, rodenticides for rodents or rats, fungicides for fungi, nematicides for nematodes, mollusticide for mollusk, acaricides for mites and ticks, herbicides for weeds, weedicides for weeds, etc. So we'll discuss about insecticides alone and primarily organophosphates. Organophosphates should be called organophosphorus compounds, strictly speaking, but organophosphate is the term more commonly used. So their fatal dose, they are according to toxicity rating. Class 1 is the extremely toxic. LD50 is less than 50 milligram per kg body weight. Class 2 is highly toxic. LD50 is 51 to 500 milligram per kg body weight. Examples are chlorpyrifos, demeton, diazinon, methylparathinon, and forate. Class 3 is the moderately toxic. LD50 is 501 to 5000 milligram or 5 gram per kg body weight. Class 4 slightly toxic. LD50 is more than 5 gram per kg body weight. Examples are malathion, temifos, triazophos, etc. Now, how it acts? How does organophosphate compounds act? What is the mechanism of action? To understand that, let's the role of acetylcholine in synaptic transmission. When an acetylcholine is synthesized into from choline and acetyl-CoA, and it is stored into a storage vesicle. Now, when a nerve impulse comes, calcium enters through a voltage rated calcium channel. This calcium will cause this release of the acetylcholine. Acetylcholine once released, it can bind with a presynaptic receptor or a which acts for as a feedback regulation, or in the postsynaptic receptor on the effector organ. After that, this acetylcholine is broken down by the acetylcholine esterase enzyme into acetate and choline. Choline undergoes reuptake. Acetylcholine esterase enzyme acts. It has an anionic site and an esteric site. Esteric site, there are serine on the base. So this is acetylcholine structure. The acetyl group, it binds with the serine by a weak hydrogen bond, and choline, the nitrogen or the nitrogen of this nitrogen ion, it binds with the anionic site by an electrostatic attraction. Then hydrolysis occurs, acetic acid and choline, they are liberated and they go their own way. So this is a presynaptic neuron, postsynaptic neuron, or a muscle cell. Black tubes are the acetylcholine, they are liberated. Green cups are the postsynaptic receptor. So when acetylcholine binds with the postsynaptic receptor, signal transmission occurs. These yellow stars are the acetylcholine esterase enzyme. So they break down the acetylcholine into two halves, acetate and choline. Now enters into the drama a third character, a third wheel. This is the red triangle is the organophosphate compound. Now this organophosphate will bind with the acetylcholinesterase enzyme. So acetylcholine is free to bind with the postsynaptic receptor. It and it remains there. It is not destroyed. So persistent signal transmission occurs. So the postsynaptic neuron or the muscle, the motor end plate, it will undergo overstimulation. That is how toxicity occurs. So this is a farmer. He is spraying the organophosphate. The insects are dying. So they are trusting the human that you will die from your own poison, and that's exactly what happens. So organophosphate are ACE inhibitors. So these green fishes, they are or acetylcholinesterase enzyme. They were breaking down acetylcholine. This organophosphate, it kills the acetylcholinesterase enzyme. So acetylcholine are happy. They will bind with muscarinic and nicotinamide receptors. But postsynaptic neuron is not happy as it is undergoing overstimulation. So organophosphate poisoning occurs. This is the organophosphate structure. Phosphoric acid, this formula is H3PO4. These three hydrogen atoms, they are replaced by three alkyl groups. When it binds with the serine in the steric site, the first group leaves. This is the leaving group. So this is called RL. Then the second group is the R2, third group is the R3. Now R3 cannot be removed and it is directly bound with the phosphorus without any oxygen. And this is a double bond, so this won't be broken. So there are two areas where water can enter causing hydrolysis. Either here where it is binding with serine. In that case, that's a very good outcome as the phosphoric group will be free and serine will be free. So the acetylcholinesterase enzyme will be free. However, unfortunately, if hydrolysis of this bond occurs, then R2 leaves. When R2 leaves, here is OH group. This bond is strengthened. Now this bond cannot be broken down. This steric site is blocked forever. So acetylcholine, even it comes, its steric site is blocked. So acetyl group cannot bind. So this enzyme is ineffective for life. This is called aging of the enzyme. Aging. Okay. Toxidogenic. It can be absorbed from skin, GIT, or respiratory tract. Distribution, it is mainly water soluble, so it stays in the vascular compartment, but also few are lipid soluble, so they can cross the blood-brain barrier. They are metabolized in the liver. Some of them they are metabolized into more toxic metabolites. For example, malodrone is metabolized in taurodrone, which is more toxic, and it is excreted by urine. Now, after acute poisoning, that is consumption of a large dose of pesticide, organophosphate, the symptoms can be classified into three groups: cholinergic symptoms, CNS symptoms, and respiratory symptoms. Now, the cholinergic symptoms, they are due to muscarinic receptors or nicotinamide receptors. Now, you need not remember all other signs and symptoms. You just need to remember what is the mechanism of action. So it causes inhibition of the acetylcholinesterase enzyme. So what will happen to acetylcholine? It will persist for a longer period of time at the receptor site. So there will be overstimulation of muscarinic receptors, nicotinamide receptors. So muscarinic receptors, where they are found? They are found into smooth muscles of respiratory tract, gut, heart. In all the glands, they are found. So from all the glands, secretion will increase. There will be increased tracheobronchial secretion due to leading to bronchoria. There will be increased GIT secretion leading to diarrhea, increased salivary secretion, salivation, increased lacrimation. Okay. Due to smooth muscle constriction, there will be bronchospasm. So bronchospasm along with bronchoria, there will be dyspnea. Acetylcholine with as it binds to muscarinic receptors in heart, this will lead to nitric oxide mediated slowing down of the heart rate. So there will be bradycardia and bradyarrhythmia, and it will causes meiosis. And due to the same smooth muscle constriction as it was causing bronchospasm, the same mechanism, the gut muscle will undergo spasm. There will be abdominal spastic pain or tenesmus. So these are the muscarinic effects. So just remember the mechanism. Symptoms you will be able to deduce. Nicotinic receptors, they are found in the motor end plate. So there will be overstimulation of the muscle. So fasciculation, twitches, paralysis. As simple as that. Muscarinic receptor overstimulated. It will leak from everywhere. So salivation, lacrimation, urination, defecation, GI cramp, emesis, pneumonic sludge. Nicotinic overstimulation. This will lead to WTF, what the fuck. W for witness, T for twitching, F for fasciculation. And it will lead to tension weakness paralysis. The other way to remember, tension due to high blood pressure. The blood pressure will increase due to nicotinic effect. Due to the nicotinic effect, there may be a mild mydriasis which will be unnoticed. There will be tachycardia which will be unnoticed due to muscarinic effect. It will be paralysis, I'm sorry, restlessness, headache, tremor, drowsiness. The patient will be delirious. There can be slurred speech, ataxia, convulsion will lead to coma. So these are the CNS effects due to direct toxicity as it crosses the blood-brain barrier. Acute lung injury due to non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema, it can lead to ARDS or acute respiratory distress syndrome. In acute organophosphorus poisoning, the cause of death is usually acute respiratory failure. Why does it occur? There are multiple mechanisms. Number one, depression of the respiratory center in CNS, brain. Number two, paralysis of the respiratory muscles. Number three, bronchospasm along with increased bronchial secretions. Number four, ARDS due to non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema, or any combination of these four will lead to a acute respiratory insufficiency, which is the main cause of death in acute organophosphate poisoning. In severe cases, there can be metabolic acidosis. Organophosphate poisoning is associated with a characteristic kerosene-like odor in the vicinity of the patient. This is due to presence of a solvent. Now, in some cases, if the acute poisoning is inadequately treated, so the enzyme, the acetylcholine esterase enzyme will undergo aging. So there will be long-lasting choline esterase inhibition. So muscles will undergo paralysis and eventually necrosis. So this will lead to a syndrome which is called intermediate syndrome. This occurs up to 1 to 4 days after the poisoning. Here there is weakness and paralysis of mainly the neck muscles, proximal limb muscles and respiratory muscles, and also muscles of the face and eye. Due to Paralysis of the neck muscles, the patient will be unable to lift the neck and sit up. Due to paralysis of the eye muscle, there will be sluggish eye movement. Facial weakness will be there due to facial paralysis. Difficulty in swallowing or deglutition can be there. Limb weakness will be mainly proximal limb weakness, absence of reflexes or areflexia, respiratory muscle paralysis, and eventually death. Up to 1 after the acute poisoning, there will be a delayed syndrome. This delayed syndrome is due to nerve demyelination, and this demyelination occurs due to irreversible phosphorylation of the esterases in the peripheral nervous tissue. Here, there will be a flaccid paralysis and atrophy of the distal limb muscles and ataxia. In the intermediate syndrome, there was proximal limb muscle paralysis. In delayed syndrome, there will be delayed limb muscle paralysis. There will be a distal limb muscle paralysis. Second difference is here there is a mid sensory motor neuropathy seen. The burning or tingling sensation in the limb, mainly in the glove and stotin areas, will be followed by weakness. This sensory neuropathy is usually not seen in the intermediate syndrome. Severe cases, there will be complete paralysis, eventually impaired respiration and death. This paralysis and neuropathy, it is never completely reversible. So if even if after successful treatment the patient survives, there will be some residual degree of nerve dysfunction in the patient. Now, persons who are chronically exposed to the organophosphate, the farmers, they exhibit chronic organophosphate poisoning. Here, the symptoms are mainly neuropsychiatric and neuropathic. Due to the neuropathic effect, uh, there will be the symptoms like paresthesia, burning sensation in the limbs, tingling and numbness in the glove and stotin areas, muscle cramp, weakness, gait disorders, etc. These are due to neuropathy. And CNS effects will be mainly psychiatric symptoms like confusion, irritability, anxiety. The patient will be drowsy. The sheep farmers, they often dip the sheep wool into a solution which is called sheep dip. This is produced by a mixture of pesticides. So they are also exposed to organophosphate. They will exhibit a neuropsychiatric syndrome known as sheep farmer's disease. Organophosphate organophosphate poisoning in a chronic phase, it often leads to a syndrome known as chronic organophosphate-induced neuropsychiatric disorder, COPIND. COPIND. COPIND is nothing but a constellation of signs and symptoms which is seen in chronic organophosphate poisoning. In COPIND, there will be neurological symptoms and psychiatric symptoms. Neurological symptoms are impaired in memory, concentration, learning, chronic fatigue, dystonia are the extrapyramidal symptoms, resting tremor, and there will be a Parkinsonism light feature, that is resting tremor, bradykinesia, rigidity of face, postural instability, often fall. So these are bradykinesia, rigidity tremor, resting tremor. These are Parkinsonism light features. But levodopa will be ineffective here. And psychiatric symptoms like anxiety, dysthymia, depression is seen. So this is how coping will manifest. Here a farmer is wearing mask and then he's spraying the pesticide to kill a rodent, or it is spraying a rodenticide actually to kill the rodent. So he is safe. But the rat is saying, will you eat these with the mask on? That means these vegetables, these carrots, these carrots will be laced with this organophosphate compound or a pesticide. So now he is safe, but he will have the toxicity when he will eat these vegetables. So this is happening with every one of us. We are eating vegetables which are laced with these toxic chemicals. So we are all exposed to organophosphate. There are a number of studies where lactating mothers in the breast milk even pesticides are found. So they are secreted in breast milk. This is the level of chronic organophosphate toxicity in our society. Every one of us, we have organophosphates in our body. How to diagnose depression of cholinesterase activity? Cholinesterase is found in two places, RBC and serum. But serum cholinesterase level is not a reliable marker. RBC cholinesterase level is measured, it is more reliable, and if it is depressed by more than 50%, it indicates organophosphate toxicity. Another one is p-nitrophenol test. P-nitrophenol is a metabolite of some organophosphates like parathion, ethion, etc. and it is excreted in urine. If it is present, so that will indicate toxicity of those organophosphates. So as evident, it is less helpful. The gold standard is thin layer chromatography, or GCMS. So these are high-end techniques. Thin layer chromatography will be can be employed from any body fluid in a gastric lavage fluid, vomiters, or gastric aspirate sample, and this will detect the organophosphate compounds. And to monitor the patient, you need to do a host of other investigations like the complete blood count, uh, ABG analysis, the arterial blood gas analysis, blood sugar, renal function test, liver function test, ECG, etc. There can be pancreatitis in some cases, so you need to do a amylase lipase estimation. If the pain abdomen persists, you need to do a CCT abdomen to rule out any other pathology or pancreatitis, etc. Treatment. First, the general measures stabilize the patient for airway, breathing, and circulation. Assess for ABC and stabilize them. Remove the patient from the site of exposure first and remove all the clothing and wash the entire body surface with soap and water, because if a drop of organophosphate is there on the skin, it will be reabsorbed. So wash the entire skin with soap and water. If there's acute ingestion, gastric lavage can be performed with normal saline, and the gastric lavage sample should be preserved for the toxicological analysis. After that, you administer activated charcoal orally at the dose of 1 to 2 gram per kg body weight. However, if the patient presents with profuse vomiting, gastric lavage has questionable value. And so, as in case of intense vomiting, activated charcoal also doesn't be helpful, as it will be vomited out. Now the specific measures. The antidotes are two. First is the atropine. Atropine is the first drug to be administered in a patient of OPC poisoning. Initial dose is 1.8 to 3 milligram IV. Give it and wait for 5 minutes and look for signs of atropinization. What are the signs of atropinization? Atropine will block the muscarinic receptors. So there will be anticholinergic signs. There will be the secretions will be dried up. So the tongue will be dry. The bronchial secretions will be dry. So the chest field will be clear. Earlier, due to increased bronchial secretions, the entire chest will be filled with rales and crepitations. Now the chest will be clearer due to drying away of the secretions and mydriasis. Acetylcholine causes bradycardia, so atropine will cause tachycardia. So both heart rate and blood pressure will increase. So these are the signs of atropinization. If they don't appear, repeat it with the double dose. Again review after 5 to 10 minutes. Signs of atropinization? No. Again repeat. And and if the signs of atropinization appear, then you give maintenance dose. That is the 10 to 20% of the initial dose. It was 2 to 3 milligram. It's 10 to 20%. That is up to half milligram you can give over 1 hour of IV infusion. This is the maintenance dose. The second antidote is the pralidoxime. Pralidoxime is a cholinesterase activator. If the enzyme does not undergo aging, then it can remove the organophosphate from the acetylcholinesterase enzyme. So the enzyme will be activated. So it is called cholinesterase activator. Initial dose is 30 milligram per kg over 20 minutes. Okay. So this is how the patient should be treated. Due to increased temperature, mad as a hatter, due to confusion, delirium, red as beet, due to flushed face, dry as a bone, due to decreased secretion, and thirsty patient. So if the patient is saying that I'm very thirsty and the temperature is rising, face is red, flushed face, and he is agitated, that means you are going towards atropine toxicity. Stop atropine immediately. Okay. So now the oximes. Oximes are not effective in very severe or large dose poisons, and they have no role if started after 48 hours of the poisoning, because by 48 hours the acetylcholinesterase enzyme will be aged, and it is less effective in severe complications, and it is not effective in the with dimethyl compounds and the atypical organophosphate and carbamates. That's why I will say, when you are asked what is the antidote of organophosphate, your answer should be atropine. That is still the gold standard of treatment. Atropine should be given first. Okay. So um, here again a recap. Acetylcholinesterase enzyme, anionic site, esteric site, organophosphate binds here, hydrolysis occurs here, R2 leaves, enzyme is aged. If the enzyme is not aged, pralidoxime will bind to organophosphate here. Pralidoxime will bind with the anionic site first by this nitrogen atom, by the electrostatic attraction like choline, and this OH will bind with R2O, and organophosphate will be bind with the pralidoxime. So acetylcholinesterase serine site of the esteric site will be free. So it is regenerate. So as evident, if R2 is not there, enzyme is aged, OH cannot bind with OH. So here the binding will not occur. So pralidoxime will not be able to remove organophosphate. As simple as that. Autopsy features: the external signs are characteristic odor of garlicky odor or the kerosene-like odor. Frothing of the mouth and nose will be there. Cyanosis of the extremities and constricted pupils. Internal signs are congestion of the GI tract. The stomach content will have a garlicky or kerosene-like odor. Pulmonary and cerebral edema. and generalized visceral congestion due to asphyxia as their respiratory depression. However, the stunning feature is the stomach. As soon as you open the stomach, the gastric wall will be congested with some mucosal petechial hemorrhage and a strong smell of kerosene light or a garlicky light smell will be there. So now, thank you very much. This is the organophosphor phosphate poisoning in a nutshell. I have tried to explain it in the simplest of terms. This is very important. The mechanism of action, the signs and symptoms, and management. This is and the autopsy features. This is important for entire life, not only for the examination purpose. And as far as the autopsy is concerned, for the viscera must be preserved. Usually, the normal usual viscera are sufficient as organophosphate will be detected from the gastric content itself. So even if CNS features are there, brain and spinal cord, they need not to be preserved. The preservative is the saturated solution of common salt will do. This is not a contraindication. So thank you very much. Read the chapter, and if you have any doubt, please feel free to reach to me. Thank you very much for your time and patience.